guys, it's Cloudy. How are you all? Today we're going to be talking about some of Kim Yoo Jung's most popular dramas. Kim Yoo Jung is a very much loved South Korean actress. She debuted in 2003 and received most of her love doing childhood roles. She's been in a lot of commercials and ads, and people mainly know her for playing princesses or the childhood version of the female character in sageuk or period historical Korean dramas. So now that she is a bit older, she's taken on a lot more variety of roles and some mature characters as well. So we're gonna look at some of her most popular shows today. Of course, if we're talking about Kim Yoo Jung, the most iconic drama that comes to mind is Lovers in the Moonlight, which stars Kim Yoo Jung and Park Bo-gum in the Joseon dynasty. This coming-of-age romance in the Joseon period is based off of a webtoon called Moonlight, drawn by the clouds. Our crown prince is Lee Jong. He's based off of a real person, Crown Prince Hyo Myung, who lived between 1809 and 1830 and was famous for being a very talented writer, composer, and choreographer. I don't know why they didn't try to add some of these artsy elements into the show. The show mainly focuses on the romantic development between the crown prince and Kim Yoo Jung's character, who is a eunuch. Kim Yoo Jung's character Raon was born obviously a woman, but she decides to take on the role of a man because she sells romance novels with a pen name and also gives romantic advice as a relationship advisor. So some very unusual jobs that we're seeing in this Joseon dynasty story. Because her character gets caught up in debt, she's sold to the palace as a eunuch. There's this hilarious scene where they're trying to castrate her, because all eunuchs have to be castrated upon entering the palace, and you're just gonna have to watch the show to figure out how she gets out of that. She becomes stationed at the crown prince's side and they start to get closer and closer together. It's kind of hilarious because the crown prince has a moment of wondering if he's gay or why would he be attracted to this random eunuch. Raon's identity as a eunuch ends up being exposed later because it is somehow linked to the peasant uprising, which becomes a core conflict in the show. So not only is there a big romance focus that is very dreamy, very lovely, there's also a more realistic aspect that is revolving around court politics. There is a pining second male lead who has absolutely no chance of getting the main female character's attention, and there is also a second female lead who is actually pretty charming, played by Chae Soo-bin, who we're going to talk about in another vlog. I think Lovers in the Moonlight remains as one of Kim Yoo Jung's most popular and well-known series, as well as one of the most beloved sageuk and period dramas. Because it has more of a focus on the romance rather than any historical elements, it is pretty receptive to audiences that may not have any experience with historical or period shows. The next show we're going to talk about is Clean with Passion for Now, which is a modern series. Kim Yoo Jung plays a character who has been taking on a lot of different part-time jobs all of her life. The show is about being clean and tidying, but she is not a tidy character at all. She's actually pretty messy. She meets a rich guy who has a phobia for dirtiness, so he's pretty obsessed with being clean, and she slowly starts to get him to open up, drop his guard. He's a bit of a tsundere and she's a very warm and friendly character, so that's the sort of couple dynamic that we see there. The show is very fluffy and light. The plot is pretty straightforward with the romance, and there are slice of life elements which kind of slows the show down a little bit. But if you're looking for a guilty pleasure K-drama that has all the typical elements in romance K-drama storylines, this is the show to check out. Okay, the next one I'm going to talk about is Lovers of the Red Sky. I think Kim Yoo Jung really shines when it comes to sageuk period dramas. She plays a female painter who falls in love with a blind astrologer in this series. Both of the characters are born on the day that a demon is being exorcised in a royal ceremony. And so the show follows the spirit of this evil demon, whether it's sealed in a painting or possessing some character in the show, and how are we going to battle this demon and seal it off for good. There's this fantasy plotline that runs along the romance plotline, so those kind of develop hand in hand, and there's a lot that is related to the main character's backstories, some court politics, a love triangle, and there's also a lot of magic and CGI thrown into there, so be prepared if you're not a very big fan of CGI. The next one I want to talk about is a modern show that has some fantasy elements called My Demon. Kim Yoo Jung takes on a more mature role as a cold and prickly heiress to a conglomerate. She meets a demon who typically preys on people's vulnerabilities. He's a demon that makes deals with people when they're in a pinch, and he comes back to collect his debt or their life a little bit later on. They make a deal together because the demon ends up losing his powers and she ends up having the demon mark on her wrist. They form a contract marriage, and of course they end up actually falling in love with each other later on. The dynamic reminds me a little bit of Goblin, so if you like the setup of having a supernatural entity protect a beautiful female character, this is a great show to check out. And there are a lot of like romance, steamy enemies to lovers relationship dynamics in the show as well. The show does end on a happy ending, but you're gonna have to watch to figure out how a demon who basically doesn't feel many emotions falls in love with a human and lives happily ever after with her. Okay, the last show I want to mention is a bit of a shout out because even though Kim Yoo Jung is in it, she doesn't get as much screen time as two other characters, and that's the most recent show, Chicken Nugget, which is a hilarious and wacky comedy sci-fi supernatural series about a girl who steps into a strange invention and gets turned into a chicken nugget. Now, if you think about the real life semantics of this, if you were turned into a chicken nugget, would you be afraid of being expired? How would you get turned back? Are you worried you're gonna get mixed up with regular chicken nuggets? Are you in danger of being eaten by people who enjoy chicken nuggets? There are a lot of these like funny scenarios that pop up in the show. There are some like wacky scientists that appear because there is this whole mystery revolving around the contraption that turns people into chicken nuggets. And most of the show is focused on the two characters, her father and also her admirer, who are trying to turn her back to normal. They form an unlikely partnership, and I actually don't think Kim Yoo Jung plays that huge of a role in the show, but it's very hilarious nonetheless. So anyways, are you a big fan of Kim Yoo Jung? And if you are, do you like her in modern dramas more or period dramas? For me, I definitely love seeing her in period dramas. And if you guys liked any of these shows or you have other Kim Yoo Jung K-drama recommendations for me, leave them in the comments below. Thank you guys for sticking to the end, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video very soon. Bye!